Welcome to the Grit Reapers, the podcast for aspiring online entrepreneurs that cuts through all the crap in the online business world and dishes out the raw and real truth about what it really takes to have a successful online business. No sugarcoating, no get-rich-quick schemes, just honest advice with a healthy dose of humor and hope.
We're your hosts, Gail and Candace, two online entrepreneurs who've been there, done that, and lived to tell the tale. So if you're looking for straight talk, practical tips, and the occasional reality check to get your online business moving, you're in the right place. Let's get down to business.
Welcome to this week's episode where we are going to be talking all about the dreaded F word. Funnels. Gail and I had a long conversation last week about all things funnels, and then we were like, we should totally record an episode on this because, this is something all online business owners, A, are going to hear the word funnel, B, have issues with their funnels, and we think we had some interesting analogies and takes on funnels. So, Gail, maybe you can just give our listeners some context in terms of how our conversation started, because you were mentioning how some of the business owners you're working with at the moment were discussing their funnel issues. So what exactly were they bringing up in your trainings and your meetings? What were they saying?
Okay, so currently in our group program, we were discussing a couple just terminologies, really. It was at the beginning of the program. We've just started, and actually one of the business owners who is actually probably my most furthest along in this group actually said to me, could you define some of the terminologies that you're using? She's like, especially the funnel. And I was quite surprised because, as I said, she's sold online. She's actually sold really successfully. And it just made me realize that, we use this word funnel, but very often people don't actually know what a funnel is. When you go into any of the software platforms, like we use Kajabi, you can build a funnel, but what actually is a funnel? So, and I think it's just so important, because until you understand really what a funnel is, it's such a fundamental part of the online process. So yeah, I think just definitely that people are not really 100% sure what a funnel is. And when we were chatting, you had some really good thoughts and analogies on what the funnels are. So I'm actually going to hand over to you, and you can just tell everybody, because I thought you made it quite clear.
Oh, okay. Yay. Maybe sometimes I do make sense. Okay, so I think when we were chatting and you were like, maybe we should do an episode on this. What are your thoughts? What would we speak about? I think the first thing I said to you was, well, you can't really speak about funnels without speaking about conversions. And you can't speak about conversions without understanding people. And so if I and I really like that way of thinking about it, because in my mind, I think a problem in people's application and understanding of what is a funnel is, when I got into this online space and I heard the word funnel, the first thing that popped into my brain was I've got this little green funnel that I use when I'm watering small plants, and it's got a round opening at the top, and then it becomes more and more narrow, and then until it kind of goes into a cylinder. I was like, is that what they mean? Is that a funnel? That's a funnel? What the hell is a funnel? So the first thing I think is that people think a funnel is this this thing. It's like a thing, right? It's like an object. And it's taught in a very formulaic way. Like, first do this, then do this, then do this. So there's a bit of like, in my mind, it's taught like quite scientifically. Like it's got a scientific name. You know, I imagine labs and like experiments that use funnels, but it's also taught in a very step-by-step way. And people just like can't quite grasp, like, so I still don't really understand what a funnel is. So what has helped me tremendously is not to think about it like that. Like in my mind, a funnel is really a word. It's just a word that describes the process of conversion, right? And for all of us, if you have a digital asset, like some part of your business is delivered in a digital way, whether it's coaching on Zoom and you want people to book online and pay you online, whether it's a group course that you're trying to get people to sign up to, or a membership, whatever it is, you have something to sell. Like in my mind, the first thing we have to understand is that in order to sell this thing that like you are really good at and really passionate about, you need people, right? You need people, and you need people who want to buy it, okay? Right, so that's the first thing. So the very first like basic thing for me is understanding that you have something you're really good at, you're really passionate about, and you really want to help people with this thing that you can do. And in order to do that, you need people who actually want this thing and who are willing to pay you for it, because otherwise you don't have a business, right? It's great if people love what you do, but they only want free stuff from you. But like, that's not a business, okay? So you actually need to find people who want to pay you, right? So if we understand that, we then have to understand like, okay, so where am I going to find these people? Where am I going to get in front of these people? And that is why so much of our business actually hinges on creating content in some way, whatever way that is. You know, it doesn't have to be, I think people hear content and immediately think social media. No, like however you're making content, it's like the honey to attract flies, right? It's like you need to be doing something that makes people think, I want to pay you. Okay. So that's like the first basic principle. The next thing, if we're going like a level deeper, is to understand that when we start doing that, so we start making content, whether it's a YouTube video or a blog or an email or social media content, however you're doing it, you are going to get in front of people who are not going to give you money immediately. Okay, I know, I really know. We all wish, like all wish our audience was just ready to buy. And I think that is a fundamentally flawed assumption that we all make, which is like, great. So all I need to do is make some content to get in front of these people so that I can show them this thing that I love to do and I'm really good at it. And then they are going to DM me and ask me, how can I work with you? Okay. It would be amazing if it worked like that, but it just doesn't. And I have just like almost adopted that as like, that is the entry level philosophy. No one is ready to pay you yet. Just like go with that, okay? So we understand that the people we're going to get in front of, and if we start using words that are like very online jargony words, it would be like we're going to get in front of a cold audience. And that is actually what we want. We want that. And people are petrified of cold audiences, but actually you want to get in front of a cold audience because you don't want to be selling the same stuff over and over again just to people who know you. You constantly want new eyes on you. You know, you want a cold audience, but the downfall is that a cold audience is just not going to pay you immediately. And so if you understand that, number one, the amazing thing is you start to think about why you need to make content differently. It's not like this dreaded chore you have to do. It is the lifeblood of your business, okay? Because you want to get in front of a cold audience as much as possible and as many people as possible. And if you understand that most of them are not going to pay you immediately, it becomes your job to show them why they should pay you, right? That is the role of our content. It is to help somebody move. So let's just play this through in our heads together. Like, imagine you scrolling on Instagram and you come across someone that you've never seen them before. You don't know their name. Maybe you just read it in their handle. You have no clue what this person does, but something about the video or the carousel, something got your attention, okay? And you quite like what this person has written or is saying in the video, and you decide, great, I'm going to follow them. And you click follow. Like, hardly any of us are going to just straight away go DM that person and say, hey, tell me about your offers. Like, how can I work with you? We are a sophisticated bunch, and we are going to take our time, hopefully, deciding whether or not this person is credible, whether or not we actually believe what they're saying, and we're going to just like kind of suss them out, right? That is like, this is just normal. This is just how I function, not even in business, just like even privately when I'm following people. It's like, okay, let me see what this is about. And so we need to think about our audience in that kind of process. It's like they come, they follow us. They don't know who we are. They don't know our name. Even if they've clicked follow, chances are an hour later, they won't even remember what your handle is. They won't remember what your first name is. They barely remember what the video is that they just watched. So our job is to get them from thinking, I don't know who you are, let's see, to, that's interesting. I've never thought about it like that, to, wow, she seems to know what she's talking about, to, oh my gosh, Gail, you have to follow XYZ. Like, I watch everything she makes. I read everything she writes. She's amazing. To, I think I'm going to sign up the next time she does something, or actually raising their hand for like, yes, I'd love that checklist you've got, or that video, yes, I want to watch it, to actually raising their hand for something, and then eventually taking you up on something you've put in front of them, okay? And that is a process. It's a long process. We think someone's going to land on our profile, watch a bit of our content and be convinced, Those like old school, beautifully branded like graphics that say client testimonial, like that's enough to convince someone to work with us, But it just doesn't work like that. So that process, if anyone listening or watching is following me, like that process of I don't know who you are, to okay, maybe, to that's interesting, to wow, that's like, this is great, it's really helping me, to every time she puts something out, I'm like reading it, watching it, whatever, to next time I'm in, to I'm in. That process is what we would call the conversion process, right? It's taking someone from being a cold lead, doing some stuff that gets them to trust us, to really believe in us, to want to work with us, so to a warmer lead or a warmer audience, to a hot audience, which is, oh my God, when are you opening your doors? Like, I need to get in, right? That process till eventually they pay you, they're actually pulling out their credit cards or whatever. That end bit of the actual paying you is what people call like the conversion point, because you've managed to take someone to the point where they've tipped over, right? That is a process. Okay, and if you're with me, a funnel really just facilitates that process. So we do some things in our business that it's like putting up a fence around that, like, okay, so this is what's going to get somebody just to sign up to my email list, right? So like a landing page with an opt-in is part of a funnel, because if your content, like let's say you've made a reel or a YouTube video, and in that video you're talking about something, and then you offer a resource and you say, by the way, like if you found this helpful, I've actually put together like a PDF of the top 10 like highest converting email subject lines. And if you'd like it, here's the link, you can go get it. Okay, so what we want is that someone who doesn't know you thinks that would be helpful. I want that. They then go do something. So they actually give you their email address if you're using an opt-in. And then, you know, what most people would do is just like add them to their email list, or maybe subscribe them to some particular email sequence that has got something to do about, let's say, email marketing. And now they're in some kind of process, a funnel, right? So we've taken them from cold, and now we've done something to get them a step closer in that process, right? And then through the emails you've now written, hopefully what you're going to be doing in those emails through the words you're using and maybe sharing resources or whatever it is working on that. Wow, that was helpful, or that was amazing, I've never thought of that, or gosh, she's so generous, look how much she gives. So they trust you more, they like you more, they connect with you more, which in turn works psychologically on people, like, you know, maybe next time she does something, I'm going to do it with her, or right? So the funnel is really just like the fence around that process. It's like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to get this cold lead to become a warm lead, and then like actually a hot lead? Okay, so when I say you can't speak about funnels without speaking about the conversion process, that's what I mean. If you understand that process of conversion, it's easier to understand that a funnel really just is like the logistics. It's like the fence around that, right? Okay.
Yeah. And so, maybe I should just sort of hop in here, because so I love that, I love that explanation of the conversion process. And so that's why I think we name our funnels, the fence around the funnel, we name our funnels. So like you were saying, you have a free resource that would be called a freebie funnel or a lead magnet funnel. If you were doing a webinar, which then you want to convert people to a program, that would be called a webinar funnel, or a challenge funnel, a 5-day challenge funnel. So it's really just, as you say, it's just the conversion process is the same. It's just the fence that we put around the process.
Exactly. And it's like thinking about, for example, if you think about like a farm, right? So there are like a whole bunch of chickens here, and there are a whole bunch of cows here, and horses, and those animals are going to need different things. So if you imagine, like, the chickens are going to need maybe some kind of, like lower built, I don't know what they call them, a trough or whatever, where, they can pick away at the little seeds or whatever it is, and they're going to need a little water thing, whatever. The horses are going to need something different. Like, we're going to need to put the fence up, but actually we need to put a gate here because they need to be able to go into the pasture. So thinking about your funnels, it's like just putting up the fencing around the process, but based on what you want people to do. Like, do I want them to take me up on an offer for something free? Cool, that's a freebie funnel. Do I want them to come into my email list, and then I'm going to offer this like free masterclass, but I know actually in that masterclass, I'm going to present people with an opportunity to sign up to something. So we know the end goal, and then you're just putting up fencing around it that supports that end goal. That is like what the funnel is, The funnel is just bringing
Absolutely.
the process.
Yeah.
Now, yes, Gailey, what did you want to add something?
I was just going to say, and just going back earlier to, I think, why people kind of feel like maybe their funnel isn't working is because, as you've explained it, it can be a very long process. You know, some funnels are longer, some funnels are shorter. And when you talk about a funnel and you think about the scientific version of the funnel where you've got water or liquid coming in at the top and gravity literally pulls it down, it just, you know, that's just what it does. It just comes straight down and to the bottom. It really, with human emotions, human desires, motivations, yes, the time is right now, no, the time is not right now. It's not like that. It's different. Gravity is definitely not pulling them down.
Exactly. And that's why, like, I think that while the concept of a funnel is very helpful, if you're thinking through, like, okay, so after someone's watched that YouTube video, like I always say to my clients, then what? So, like, okay, they've just watched the video, then what? What do you want them to do next? If you just start thinking about things more like in a process, like, okay, so first I'm going to put up the video. In the video, this is the subject matter I'm talking about in the video. I'm talking about email marketing, okay? At the end of the video, I'm going to offer this PDF that I've put together on subject lines because I know that would be really helpful for people and they struggle with that, okay? Then what I would love is that if someone found the video helpful, they'll click on the link, and I've decided to set it up like as an opt-in. So they must give me their email address and then I'll give them that PDF. Then I'm going to subscribe them to an email sequence that speaks all about email marketing and the like where people go wrong, what they can do to improve it. Great. The first 3 emails are just going to be like value-based. I'm not going to pitch to them. Maybe on the 4th email, I'm going to start talking about like a masterclass that I'm putting together. Then at that point, if the person signs up for the masterclass, what then? Okay, so then I need to add a tag so that I know who's coming to the masterclass. I need to unsubscribe them from that original email sequence. If the person does not take me up on what do I need to do then? So when you start thinking through things more like literally like that, like from here to here to here, then you actually, what you're doing is thinking through your funnel. Okay, so that's the first thing. It's more like of a process. But when I say that it's taught in quite a formulaic way, you know, even the name funnel made me like think of that, you know, literal funnel, is that we just think it works like a funnel works, you know? So, but I mean, I put together this freebie and it's an opt-in and like no one's buying. I don't understand. There's some of my funnels broken. And it's exactly what you just said, you know? People are not periodic elements. They are human beings. And if you know any human beings, they are volatile, emotional, erratic, indecisive. Sometimes we're a bit insane, you know? So there are so many things that factor into how human beings behave. It doesn't work like a science experiment. So yeah, when I say you can't speak about funnels without understanding the conversion process, and you can't speak about the conversion process if you don't understand people, can you see why it's all linked? Like if you understand, think about your own experience as a consumer of content, because this has happened to me before where like I genuinely am interested in something like a creator has put out or a video I've just watched. And I'm happy to give my email address because I really want the thing they're offering. And oh my goodness, it is like you just get nailed. It's like, you know, you've been subscribed to an email sequence and the floodgates open and you are just being emailed. It feels like being digitally harassed. Like I actually feel like sometimes it's enough. Like it's too much, it's too aggressive. The first email, you're already trying to get me to sign up to like a $2,000 program, guys, like seriously. And so what do? I just hit unsubscribe immediately, which is such a pity, because the truth is if the person, the business owner, had been a bit more patient and really just understood, like as humans, how it feels when you're a stranger and then someone tries to sell you something immediately, how does that feel, right? They would have kept me on their list, which, and it's such a pity, you know? So you've got to understand, like, human beings most of the time don't like being sold to. They don't like being harassed. They don't like feeling like you're fear mongering, like, and using things like fake scarcity and like almost like scaring you. I mean, well, let me speak for myself. I hate that. Like, I hate that. Don't tell me this is the last time you're going to run your program. Because I know, like, I've been around for long enough. The chances are in 3 months I'm going to see you launching again. So please, like, don't do that, you know? So when we are thinking about our funnels and that process of how do we get someone to think about us differently? How do we get people to trust us? How do we gain credibility with people? For me, the biggest thing is just understanding like that takes time. Like, it just takes time and you've got to be patient. So when you then thinking through that process, like, okay, so if somebody signs up, then I'm going to subscribe them to an email sequence. Like, bear that in mind. Just bear it in mind. Like, you've got time. Don't immediately in email one be pitching them, because the chances are you're going to have a lot of unsubscribes and then you're going to think your funnel's broken because no one's buying, you know. And it might
So,
be that you just needed to be more patient, more nurturing, more giving before you asking for something in return.
so Cans, I think that's quite a good place just to chat. Well, actually, I know that we've got it on our list to actually do a program about this. Is just so if you do think your funnel is broken, like what you can do. So I think that's like a topic for another podcast, because there is actually so much that you can do once you've been testing your funnel. We're calling it a funnel, testing your process and seeing if it works or it's not working. There's definitely things that you can do to stop the leaks or to optimize your funnel. So perhaps this will be a good time just to give a few final thoughts on this topic of
Yeah,
funnels, and do we
yeah,
really need them? Like, are they that
yeah,
important?
yeah,
So what do you think?
definitely. Yeah, so I definitely think they work. Like, they do work. The one thing I'd love to also just offer our listeners is like, they don't have to be fancy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people think funnels have to be like these complicated. I mean, I used to break out into a cold sweat when I used to think about like creating a lead magnet, okay? Because it was like I had to create a beautifully branded ebook, you know, or oh my God, it can't just be like a video that I've shot on my iPhone. No one's going to think I'm professional. So then it was like all this added pressure that, like, oh my God, now I've got to like film it all. Like, no, like, funnels don't have to be complicated, and you don't have to build out landing pages and email sequences and do this whole umpala about like a funnel, right? Because if you starting to think about a funnel more like, how do I get someone to think about me differently through something they're watching that or reading that I've put together? A funnel can literally be as simple as, for example, if you've made a reel on Instagram, let's say you're talking about like, why is no one watching your reels? You know, why is no one, like, if I made a piece of content like that and I spoke about one specific thing, you know, like it's about the words that you're using. And then at the end of the reel, if I said, by the way, there are actually two other things that I think are critical when it comes to like getting people to actually watch what you're doing. If you want to see what they are, drop like in the comments, just say me and I'm going to send it to you. Okay. And let's say somebody does comment me. Great. Then what I can do is actually just go DM them. Hey, Gail, I'm so happy, like you commented on my reel, you know, what's going on? What's happening with your content? Have a conversation with you. And then I could say, great, here's a link to those other two, things that I mentioned. And maybe it's on a Google Sheet, because you know what? That's the other thing that I've realized. When you are speaking your audience's language and you have something they want, they don't care where you've housed it. They don't care if it is on and you have spent 6 hours building a beautiful landing page in your website builder, or if it's on a Google Sheet. All they want is the damn information, because they're suffering and desperate and they're looking for answers. So when I started just using Google Sheets, dropping links on Google Sheets, and then like right at the end of something I'd put together, I just had like if you're curious about how you can get your content to start working for you, click here to see how we can work together, or something like that, like a little call to action that would take them to learn more about me. That's a funnel. That's a funnel,
Yeah.
So
So it can be as simple or as complicated as you would like to make it.
okay. So I do think funnels work, and I do think that they are necessary. They are necessary because for me, funnels and understanding the conversion process are speaking about the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
When I say funnels are necessary, what I really mean is you can't run a business unless you understand how you're gonna get people to think about you in a way that makes them want to pay you. That's what I mean. That is totally necessary, And the other thing is, and this is why it's quite tricky, is because, with like landing pages or platforms like Kajabi, which have analytics, fantastic. You can see how many people have come to this landing page, how many people have opted in for the thing you're offering, right? But what we can't track, even with things like paid ads and pixels and all the technology at our fingertips, what we can't track is actually it's largely a psychological process. What you're trying to do is get people to perceive you in a different way. And we don't know where someone is in that process. Like, is this the 10th piece of content they've watched from you, read of yours? Is it the first? Did they think you were a bit irritating at first, but now actually they like digging your vibe? Are they changing how they think about you? You can't track that. You can't track what is happening in someone's brain. And so it is absolutely critical for me that business owners understand this. Like, it's long, it takes time, especially if people don't know you, especially if you have no kind of track record. If you're brand new to the online space trying to sell your thing, whatever that is, okay, even if you have the most wildly successful business offline and word of mouth, and you are like, you've got a great reputation, your practice is full, your shop is full, there's a wait list, amazing. Then you come online, no one knows who you are, okay? It takes time to build people's trust and credibility, and you can't always track it. Okay, you can't always track it because it's here. And that's why when people get so disheartened that like no one's watching their content, or this whole content just takes forever, and it's like, yeah, it does, I know it does, but it's the lifeblood of your business. And you never know the piece of content that is the final piece in someone's mind that got them to put up their hand and say, I'd love that. Or I've been following you for like 6 months. I'm ready. Like, how do I work with you? You just don't know. So I do think that
You just have to keep going.
have to keep going. Something I've started telling my clients is I want you to actually imagine, like I'll say to them, have you got Instagram on your phone? Yes. Have you got like the YouTube app? Yes. Great. Whatever platforms you are choosing to like grow on, I want you to imagine that when you downloaded your application, there was something wrong with like the analytics of your views. Everything else works. You can publish content. It works perfectly. But I want you to assume that people are seeing it, but you just have a faulty app. So you can't actually see the right analytics, okay? That's what I want your baseline assumption to be. People are watching this, people are seeing it. There's something wrong with my app. I just can't get the stats on it, okay? Because then it helps you if you just assume that actually people are watching and actually they are reading, okay? And you just can't see it, it actually helps with your like wherewithal to keep going. Because the truth is we all do get a bit disheartened when like no one's commenting, you can't see the view count, you know, it's like 2 views or whatever. I just want you to just imagine it's faulty, your app is faulty.
Yeah. But Kans, I also think that as you keep on saying, you know, you take your own experiences into account, because when I'm on Instagram, I will see content that I like, but I won't like it. I mean, I won't heart it. I won't comment on it. I won't share it because I'm just consuming it. So, and the same for Facebook and same pretty much for most. If somebody in their content expressly asks me to, like if I've got the time, I might, you know, do that. But just think about your own habits on social media and just know that people are watching. You know, we see it all the time. People say, oh, you know, I saw you doing this or I saw you doing that. And you had no idea that they saw you doing that. So, yeah, I think this has been a really, really great episode. I am definitely going to tell the people in my group program to come and have a listen, because the way you explained it, I think, was far better than the way I explained it. So hopefully everybody now understands that a funnel is not a thing, it's more a process. The journey that your customer goes on, literally from not knowing who you are to finally putting their hand up to pay you and work with you.
Correct, correct. And like you mentioned, you know, there's a whole conversation about like really when your funnel isn't working, like how to plug those holes. But there's also a conversation about like thinking your funnel's not working just because people haven't purchased, but actually, you know, those people that kind of don't purchase first time round, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with the funnel. And what do we do with those people that have like kind of not taken you up on the offer? You know, I don't think that's a funnel problem. I think that's like a normal part of conversion. Like,
Yeah.
people probably won't buy first time around, but that can also be another conversation. So, yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is just to start thinking about a funnel not as a thing, that human beings are not like periodic elements, scientific elements. They are, you know, they change their mind, they're impulsive. It's like a lot of our behavior is based on circumstance. Like if something pops up unexpectedly and it's a priority in your life, all of a sudden you don't have money to buy the thing that actually you had every intention of signing up, like that's life, you know? So you have to understand human beings, you have to understand the process people go through, and that then you can put some things in place that just help move that process along, and that's really what a funnel is, you know. So I do think they're necessary. I think there are ways you can just simplify your life as a business owner. But yeah, Gailey, I love this conversation because it's a lot of what I work with people on, like more like the conversion process and understanding it. And for our listeners, what Gail and I wanted to do is just put together a something, you know, that you can go and look at with your own eyes that will help you kind of think through that process for your own business a little better. There'll be a link that pops up, or it's like wherever you're watching or listening to this, you'll find the link and go and have a look. As Gail said, you know, she's going to share this with her group because she knows it's topical and people are struggling. But Gail and I really invite you always to let us know, like, wow, I listened to that episode. I'd love to hear something more around like funnel breakdowns, proper funnel breakdowns, and how you plug leaks. Or, you know, you said this, can you speak about that a bit more? We are always open to hearing from you, the listeners, you know, our people that are in the trenches with us, like what it is that you'd like some input on. And if Gail and I don't feel equipped to answer it, we'll bring someone on that definitely is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Awesome stuff. So we will see
Okay.
you guys next week.
next week we will, and have a good rest of your week, everybody.
Bye.